chance and the opportunity was given to me to do this, lose my arms and legs over again to make sure my guys stayed alive, I would do it again. There's only 5 of us that have survived this type of injury. I was the second, but the first Marine.
You share some misery with somebody for a minute and they become your best friend pretty quick. And then the longer that extends, you know, it's not very long before they're a brother. It was my squad that died. It was like, are you even worthy of being that, of being, you know, the guy that didn't get killed? And I don't know. I don't know if I am.
We take this precious freedom that we have here to do as we please and, you know, live as we want for granted. But it has to be provided, it has to be defended, it has to be protected, it has to be fought for, it has to be sacrificed for, and somebody's got to do all that. And we're lucky that we have people that are willing to do it.
Corporal Travis Williams, United States Marine Corps.
My name is Jen Householder, and I'm proud to have served in both the Air Force and the Army.
I'm Rosalind Renee Battle, Sergeant, United States Army.
My name is Sergeant Michael Tucciaroni. I am a veteran of the United States Marine Corps.
Corporal Todd Nicely. I realized I wanted to enlist when I was about 16 years old.
I have 6 children. Todd's like one of the middle children. He was in high school still, and that's what he wanted to do. And then, well, 9/11 happened, of course.
2 planes have hit the World Trade Center. Both towers now completely destroyed of the World Trade Center.
And then I really did not want him to go in.
When I joined the Marine Corps, I planned on doing 20. I met my wife at that time. She was also a Marine. I was looking forward to having a family, kids, living my life as a Marine. I wanted to climb the ranks when I got in the military. I wanted to be there to make sure that not only are we fighting the bad guy, but I'm bringing these kids back home to their mothers, their families, their wives, their sons, daughters. That was my whole purpose. I would risk my life and limbs for them before I would let them be in any kind of danger. I would never ask them to do anything that I wouldn't do. Lots happened in my life. On the 26th of March, I stepped on the bomb, took my arms and legs. It's a fight and a struggle every day with that.
We don't control as much as we think we do, and that when you put yourself in Iraq at that time, you really don't control anything. The only thing you can control is how you're gonna take care of this guy and how you're gonna take care of this guy, and that's it. I can't control how he's gonna take care of me, but I can believe in my heart that after everything we've been through, this guy will do, you know, like as much, if not more. Chris Dyer, PFC Chris Dyer, he was our youngest Marine that we had with us. He was goofy. He came from Cincinnati. Aaron Reed was Lance Corporal Aaron Reed. Throughout the deployment, he was, you know, my best friend. Sergeant Justin Hoffman, he was our squad leader. I don't want people to look at me or this story or my friends and think mediocrity. I don't want there to be a question or a doubt in their mind about like the intentions or, you know, the good nature of these gentlemen. I'm not the best candidate out of all those guys to be the one like carrying on the colors or, you know, keeping their name in good faith. And for me, that was really hard to come to terms with.
In my battalion, we all did make it home, but it was definitely a difficult time. I hit boots ground first in Kuwait, December of 2004, and then January of 2005, I'm in Iraq. During that first deployment, 2005, there was definitely some challenges in that area within the unit, and that was tough. There were a few bad apples, and yeah, just anger towards, you know, certain women being in leadership positions.
When you think about it, you know, we've been at war here for 15 years. There are ongoing challenges because of this war that we're still in and that it looks like we'll be in for many years to come.
The war is always there in your mind. Today's era of veterans, I believe, the most common factor is PTSD. Depression comes into play. Anything can trigger it, from the look of a cornfield to the smell of burning trash.
Every time I am alone hunting, or every time I am driving and a song comes on, or, you know, some kind of weird smell that brings me back to that place, or just anything, any kind of little trigger that reminds me of those guys, or Iraq even, and I can get there.
Just to be sitting around thinking about it. You lose friends that become family. Imagine losing a relative that's close to you. That's exactly what it's like, but you lose multiple in one day. Just the difference in amputations. I have this basket of hands because I have to have multiple extra hands. Picked up corporal right before we left for Afghanistan. That was my second deployment.
I think I was more worried about him going to Iraq because it was the first deployment. So Afghanistan, I did not realize how bad it was. Nobody wants their child to go to war.
On a daily basis in Afghanistan, we had 3 squads. We had the morning, which was like 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. Then you had the kill hours, which we called it, which was 11 to 4. Then you had the night patrol, which was like from 4 till dusk. The Taliban, they would set up in the canal systems that they had for their fields. They had their machine guns sitting on top of the trenches, waiting for you to cross open 200-meter fields. The first one who gets fighter superiority wins. So you would lay down and shoot back. Hope to God that that bullet didn't have your name on it. The condyles on my leg, the suction works just fine because it keeps that leg from sliding off. On March 26, 2010, it'll be a day I'll never forget. When I took that first step, I stepped on a 40-pound bomb, and it took my left arm right above the wrist, my right arm at the elbow, my left leg right above the knee, my right leg right at the knee.
This one's a little rougher.
I have a suction system leg and a pin system leg. The suction system is on my right side because the condyles help keep the socket on. But these liners I need to use, they're gel liners. They give a little bit of cushion in between.
The day we found out, I couldn't even tell you. I just went into shock. I was just numb. I just couldn't even believe it.
It's a lot easier for me to tell my story. And when I have to hear what they went through, what they, I can't imagine it. It's easy for me. I was the one who was in the incident, I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew what I signed up for, but they didn't sign up for that. So it's rough to hear the other side. It's a lot easier to tell my side.
We don't want to send our sons and daughters to war. Nobody wants to do that. But unfortunately, the way the world has always worked, somebody always wants what you have. And so they're willing to fight for it. And therefore, you have to be willing to fight for yours.
Most of my experience to begin with was in Iraq, in Operation Iraqi Freedom. I went through Air Force ROTC at Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, and I graduated in 1998 with a degree in math, and then got commissioned the very next day as a second lieutenant in the Air Force. And I was able to switch over from the active duty Air Force to the Army Guard Reserves to fly, and I fly Blackhawks. It was surreal because in Iraq we saw palaces, these beautiful structures, and then right next to that you see just poverty. We would fly past these shepherds. They're out with their sheep. I mean, it was just amazing. It was like something that you would read out of the Bible. And I would tell you, I feel good about what my unit did there. We did a lot of good work, and we did it respectfully, professionally. But yeah, comments and rumors. So being in an environment where there's that hostility, it just created dissension within the unit.
As a woman in the military, you have to compete with your male peers, and you actually have to do better so that you don't seem like you're a drain on the unit. If you're doing physical training, you have to keep up with the men. You have to keep up with whoever the leader is. You can't fall out.
There was fairness, and then there was unfairness. Some unfair treatments and some military sexual assault. I was promoted to sergeant in Bahrain, Iraq, February 1st, 1991. As soon as we got to the desert, we shared our tent with the men. Even though we had to counter it off, we didn't have our own tent. Well, it felt numb. It just felt like I'm just going through the motions, just doing my job, hoping that it would hurry up and be over. Because if you were to talk, we would be treated even worse. Because these folks were over our food, over our supplies. Dealing with sexual assault in the military is a big problem. And I know that they're doing a lot of countermeasures to watch out for women in the military.
It undermines what this military stands for when sexual assault takes place within our units. And that's why we are going to work together, all of us, to stop these crimes of sexual assault and uphold the honor and the integrity that defines the finest military on earth.
Right now we have an all-volunteer service. We're lucky that we do have an all-volunteer service. It works better when you have people that's their chosen direction. They want to go into military service. And not everybody is able, or has the ability to learn how to kill.
By the time I was 20, I'd seen more people die than most people will in their whole life, you know, if they have a nice, easy life. I feel like when I first met that squad, that I had an expectation of you better rise up to the occasion because you're the new guy and we don't know you, and you know, I have to earn their trust in a short period of time because those are the guys I'm going to be working with. Those are the guys that I'm going to, you know, put my life in their hands. The day that it happened, we were tired. Everybody was tired. We'd just gotten back from a long stint up north by the Syrian border. So I load up with first squad. Next thing I know, Major Tolan or Captain Tolan from the troop commander hatch taps me on the shoulder and he's like, "Hey, we're getting bumped up to the next vehicle." So I kind of like wake up a little and grab my stuff, get my pack, and I just scoot by everybody who's also still kind of half asleep, and Reed like wakes up and he's like, "Where are you going?" "We gotta move up to the next track." And I was like, "I'll catch you guys on the flip side." All I saw in this, you know, this Iraqi was sitting on security, or standing up in this vehicle on security, and he had these like J-Lo glasses on. It's just big like frame glasses, and all I could see in his eyes was flame and fire. You know, the other two squads from our platoon came in, and the first squad did not come in. And I stayed on the rooftop for a while, and everybody else went out and covered the bodies, like with blankets or sheets, whatever they could find. And they grabbed them, and we continued with our mission. It was my squad that died. It was like, are you even worthy of being that, of being, you know, the guy that didn't get killed? And I don't know. I don't know if I am. Everybody was crying. Everybody was in pain. Everybody, everyone's heart was ripped out that day. A young American, male or female, is equivalent to a raw piece of steel when we receive it here at the shop. The Marine Corps or the Navy or the Coast Guard or the Army, they are the stencil that goes around that steel. From that point, after it's cut, it will be forged and ground and refined, just as someone would be in boot camp. And then, you know, we will choose a handle or materials to put on it, kind of like certain training or extra schools or extra experience or deployments. And the knife really comes together once the handle, you know, is bonded with the blade. I'm looking for, or the, I guess the finished Marine or soldier, or airman or whoever, is of the same ideal, and I feel like With all service members, that's kind of their story. You know, when they come out, we're not all white or black or Asian or Latino, but we're all servicemen.
I thank you, Father God, for this day. God, thank you for the food we're about to eat and the hands that prepared it. God, thank you for all your many blessings and all that you do for us. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
I'm originally from New York. That's where I grew up. My father had passed away when I was 16. I knew I needed something just to get out on my own, so that's why I joined the Marine Corps. In here, I still have my uniform. The dress blue uniform, kind of one of the things that suckered me into being a Marine was how pretty it looked. My name is Sergeant Michael Tucciaroni. I am a veteran of the United States Marine Corps.
We've been married almost 14 and a half years. We met at a club, a dance club.
I was in the Marine Corps for 8 total years. I would build airfields that can basically, from start to finish, be done in a matter of a couple of weeks.
My husband would work very long hours. We would get the call quite frequently that he wasn't coming home. And it wasn't a warning, it was, I'm stuck out on base again, I have to spend the night at the airfield, I'm not coming home. And that's kind of hard to plan when you have 2 kids and you still have to work. And a lot of times you have to remind yourself that it's not them, because your initial reaction is you're angry or you're frustrated and you want to kind of take it out on them, but it's completely out of their control, and you are a military family, and so you don't really realize, but you sign up for it too. You really do.
It's a tough road. It really is, and I wish I could do more for him. Wish I could give him my arms and legs, but I can't.
Date of injury, March 26, 2010, 25 days after my 26th birthday. When I landed down by the canal and knew that I'd lost my legs, I remember thinking to myself, just keep breathing, just keep breathing. If you're breathing, you're alive. So keep breathing and you'll make it back. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up in Walter Reed Hospital.
It was horrifying. It was just something I just never wanted to see, ever. And I'll never forget that image of seeing him laying there like that. I was very worried about his quality of life and how he would handle this. I thought, oh my gosh, this is just gonna kill him. I mean, what's he gonna do? But that strength in that is what got him through, because he wanted to walk again. He wasn't gonna sit in a wheelchair. I got to watch him go through the therapy and actually start using this stuff. And it was so great to see him back up on his legs again, walking. It was amazing to me. Like I said, I was there when he took his first steps as a child. I got to be there when he took his first steps again.
Going home was kind of special. You know, you finally got away from the therapy and everything else, and you get into the normal life, because you can only learn so much in occupational therapy. You have to learn on your own in the outside world. They didn't teach me how to pump gas. I had to learn that on my own. Panic sets in. How am I going to take care of my family? How am I going to take care of my wife? How am I going to support myself? You don't know any of these things. Fear sets in.
I just want you to cube them. Outside of the military, you're a single person. You're not a unit anymore, and it's completely different. I don't feel that they're given the tools they need to be prepared for that.
As a man, you feel kind of like you have to provide, so when you're, those moments when you're out of work or you're between jobs, it's difficult, because then you feel just like you're not even being a man.
Tell Dad about the anti-bullying seminar that we had.
Awesome.
All right, how'd that go? From 99 to 2006, it was completely Marine Corps, fully active duty. When I first got out, I knew, okay, it's time to work. I got a family I have to provide for. I was on unemployment at that time, And pretty much everything that was available was minimum wage jobs. It was a little disappointing that I couldn't carry out the things I learned in the Marine Corps into different civilian jobs.
He's very proud of his service, and he should be, but unfortunately afterwards, what was waiting for him was not, there just wasn't a lot there. He was given a lot of leads that were minimum wage jobs or part-time jobs, things where he completely started where somebody maybe half his age was starting. And he had put in the time, he had earned that title.
You would think that you'd be better off when you get out after you put in your 8 years and your time in the Marine Corps, but I worked with it the best I could. There were points, low points, where we had to go to food pantries and find food that just expired, but it's still good for a couple of days, and have places that were willing to help us with the month of rent or something. It was kind of like just getting punched in the gut. I mean, you got to put all your pride aside. There was one time I recall where I had to go to church and ask the pastor for a fuel card to get to work, or gas card. And I'll never forget that, because it was only a $20 gas card. I teared up that I had to even ask for it. I'm getting a little bit right now too, because it was just like, I can't believe I have to do this.
To have to admit to people what happens afterwards, that's hard. I don't feel like our military men or women should have to go through that.
So you picked out what? All the ingredients or what?
Yeah, she picked out every one of them.
I don't have any regrets of all serving in the Marine Corps. I learned the life lessons I needed. Thankfully, as resourceful as my wife is, she was able to find those programs out that were able to help us, which took a lot of time and a lot of digging. It wasn't easily accessible. Getting involved with the Veteran Supplemental Support Network has been one of the key, most important things to getting us to those food banks, getting us the repairs we needed at the time, even covering a month of rent when we needed it. I know we'd be in a lot worse position if it wasn't for that organization.
So a kid at school made that up?
3 of them.
And you did it for the summer, for the whole...
Yeah, the whole Da Vinci program, we taught it to the little kids.
At this point in my life, I have 3 children, 2 girls, and I have a stepson who's grown up and out of the house. We also do foster care. We were able to buy our first home in November, and it needs some work. We still need some help here and there, but we're a lot better off than we were in those days.
I'm not gonna say I don't have my bad days. War changed me when I came home. It made me drink a lot. This injury itself and the depression. I was divorced 2013. My mental state coming back was all over the place. I couldn't ride in cars. I was afraid of losing more of my limbs for some reason. I was afraid. I was just afraid. I've recently tried to commit suicide. You spend 7 months in a desert in a hellhole just trying to survive, and then you have 1 month left and your life is almost taken from you.
This is a letter written from one of the doctors that had operated on me at Camp Dwyer. The patient was wide awake and screaming in horror and misery. It was a scream beyond description. We removed his non-viable lower limbs and the dead part of the arm so we could save his elbow, so at least he'd have a single joint. We were delighted we saved him, yet also imagined how difficult life would be for him here on out.
I see a sadness in him, most definitely. I see him struggle to do things that are very easy for everybody else, that we take for granted. We don't realize how hard they are for him. Just walking on rocks or anything, trying to pick up a fork, brush his teeth. Just everything he does is a struggle.
I'm not going to say I don't have my bad days. I've recently tried to commit suicide. On June 2nd, the day before I tried to kill myself, I called the VA. I called the hotline. They said there would be a therapist that I could talk to. So when I got a hold of the lady, she said, "There's no therapist." And I said, "Well, why would you have a therapist on the hotline if there's not going to be a therapist?" And she told me, "Sir, you're irate. You need to call back in 30 minutes. So I said I wanted to talk to the manager. She hung up on me. So I called back, and I got a hold of some lady, and I asked her, "Why is there not a therapist?" And she said she didn't know why they would even have that prompt on there. And I asked her, "Where have you been? What have you done? How do you even know how to pick my brain? How do you know how to talk me off of a ledge if you've never been where I've been?" She didn't have an answer for that. I talked to her for a little bit, and I let her go, and she said that someone would be giving me a call back. June 3rd comes, no one calls back. No one cared. They didn't even care if I was alive or not still. I had gone through a lot of liquor, and the gun was there, and I decided that I had had enough, and I was going to check out.
I never expected him to do anything like that. He was drinking heavily, he was in his room, he was on the phone, he was talking to all his friends, talking about Afghanistan and things that happened over there and what they did. And it wasn't all serious talk, some of it was laughing and joking.
And so I took the gun, I pointed it in the only direction I could, which was towards my heart, and I pulled the trigger.
It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I heard a pop and I seen a flash.
I think what was tough for me is because there was some earlier childhood trauma that I had had when I was about 3 years old, sexual abuse. During that first deployment in 2005, there was definitely some challenges in that area. Just anger towards, certain women being in leadership positions. And so, yeah. So a lot of us came back from that deployment just trying to wrap our minds about what happened, what we'd seen, and then of course I've got the added layer of just Pandora box opening up. I'm doing everything I know to do to stay engaged in life, but I'm just dragging. I'm dragging down. And I thought maybe if I cried about it enough, I talked about it enough, that it would just be done. And then I would be able to move forward and it wouldn't bother me anymore. That was my understanding of trauma. But the more I talked about it, I just remained in that triggered state. I got so desperate, I wrote this suicide note. I knew where I would go, how I would execute my plan. At this time, I'm a major in the Army. So I knew I could come up with good reason to say why I need to get my weapon from the armory. Pretty sure I could convince them, and I knew how I could execute my plan. I apologized a lot in that note, to God, to my family, because I knew it was a coward. I just felt like, I couldn't escape the pain. I felt like a failure. I felt ashamed of what had happened to me as a little girl, even though I knew it wasn't my fault, but I couldn't seem to get healed. And I couldn't escape it. But interestingly, during this time, I kept pushing my suicide date to the right because I'm supposed to fly a mission. I can't let the team down. Like, I don't want to be an imposition because I decided to do this thing. I don't want to let anybody down. But what was good, I got home, I made it home, and I met a counselor. A friend of mine said, "Hey, you should look into, there's a cutting edge therapy called EMDR. It leverages the concept of where you go back to like one of those earlier traumatic memories, and then you put into that memory what you didn't have. So like that little girl, me at 3, I didn't really have any resources to protect me, right? So maybe I bring in the Navy SEALs, or maybe I bring in my Labrador Retriever, or something like that. I found healing. I wouldn't be here talking with you if that weren't true. And when I learned the science behind trauma, when I started to understand this is not just a mental thing, this is a physiological and a biological thing, it changed my world. My hope is to find those people that have fallen through the cracks and find them before they give up. I mean, I was almost that person. I almost gave up.
June 3rd, I shot myself in the heart.
On the chair, there's an entrance hole from where I was sitting, from where it went through the chest, and there's also an exit hole on the back side of the pillow where the bullet came through outside my body and then back through the pillow.
When I walked over to him, I seen the gun. He was as white as a sheet. I never seen anything as white. And I seen the blood. And I just was like, oh no, Todd. And right away called 911.
Next thing I know, I'm waking up in the hospital with people shoving tubes in my chest.
Being a mom, you want to know everything about your child, and you think you know everything about your child. But, you know, I wish I could have got him the help he needed.
I'm mad at myself, very selfish, you know, to put them through that again.
I realized that I'm tired of waking up in hospitals. I do believe I'm here for a reason. It could be the smallest reason, just to help one person. It could be a bigger reason. I haven't found that reason yet. But right now I'm working through my life trying to figure out my struggles.
You know, I'm the only one that's left, and that's just that. But I feel like there's a bigger part of that story than just, you know, yeah, these guys got killed in the war over a stupid bomb. Me now is basically me with 11 dudes, you know, in this vicinity on everything I do. If I'm going to be associated with it, or my name is associated with it, these guys are coming along. Lance Corporal Eric Bernholtz, up until the end of his life, he thought about more than himself and thought beyond like the consequences of just what was happening now, of everything he did. You know, how he carried himself, how he spoke with the people, how he interacted with everyone. Bernholtz was a really good guy. Nick Bloom, from Montana, from Bozeman, good kid also. He was also a younger guy. Edward August Schroeder, don't let the name fool you. He was dependable. You could ask anything and he might complain about it with, you know, a million great excuses of why not to do it, but every one of them was completely sane, and then he would go and do the job, you know, 100% perfect. I'm trying to cope with like being grateful for being here and for not going with them, and at the same time, you know, so many people lost so much more than I could even ever understand. You know, like Dave Kruger had a child on the way, and just people with more things to do than I have. You know, my life is this shop and these 3 dogs, but there's people that had more life influence than I did in that group. Grant Frazier recently got buried in Arlington Cemetery. Grant Frazier was like a really big party in a tall, kind of lanky white dude with glasses. And it caught you off guard a little, like if you got to know him, but he was a good guy. I don't know what they would want me to do, but I just keep doing what I feel they wouldn't frown upon, or you know, like if I make another knife, if I make another blade today, 50 years down the road, somebody is gonna have another blade that was made by me, who was attached to these guys, who went to this war, who fought this, but in the end, it's basically a way to kind of put my stamp in history, I guess, or just to keep that memory alive.
So there are going to be residual effects. There's post-traumatic stress. We're suffering a catastrophic challenge with mental health. And we don't put enough emphasis on that and the challenges that people are facing.
The toll that this injury has taken on my life has been tremendous. I mean, it's changed my whole world.
We are headed to the orthopedic doctor. Started turning really hot red, made me nervous.
You still have that pain kind of
Nope,
right?
I'm no longer with that doctor.
I don't think this is going to be horribly painful, but you know, again, happy to give you pain medicine for a brief period of time. But
seeing the things you've seen and doing the things you've done, when you come back here, it's not the same. You miss that. You miss being with those guys. So you try to find a replacement, and most of the time the replacement isn't a good thing. It's mainly alcohol.
I started drinking to numb the pain of the past. I was homeless since August of 14, and I've been here since August 11, 2016.
Well, we're currently at the Cavaney House. This was the first house that opened up for New Directions 24 and a half years ago. All the women that are in this program are homeless. They are all homeless.
I'm the president and CEO for New Directions for Veterans. It's a nonprofit 501(c) organization that helps veterans that are transitioning. We help both male and female veterans.
As simple as a bed, as simple as a bathroom with a door, someplace where you can go in our backyard and just sit there and sit under the sun or under the stars is very, very important.
I have 60 days of sobriety. Today I will tell our female veterans that have had sexual assault or any type of assault, whether it's emotional, sexual, or physical neglect that has happened to them, to seek help immediately, because the military is there to help them so that they don't have to live in silence.
If you've seen a lot of people get killed and you've had to do some killing yourself, it's hard. It's hard to live with.
The only true way to make any good out of what happened that day, or to honor their memory, or to do anything positive out of that stuff, is to live my life as best I can. Brett Whiteman, he was one of the team leaders at the time, but he was Lance Corporal. Tim Bell, when I first met Tim Bell, he definitely was a hardcore dude. Michael Cifuentes, another super genius guy. He had a college degree. It's not how you cope with death, it's more what you do every day that you're awake. That's what needs to be focused on, is not moving forward, but just striving for something outside of, just a menial existence.
When we built the house, we made it in mind that I'm one day possibly going to end up in my wheelchair for most of the time. So there's a little button on the side of the cabinet that you press that allows the cabinet to be lowered and brought down to the bottom of the countertop so I can access anything that's inside the cabinet. There's a few other things, the elevator, which is nice. I don't have to go up and down steps.
Past tense, let's go with that.
Okay, which of the following sentences uses the active verb voice? Choose the best verb to complete the following sentence.
Let's see what I got on the quiz. Working towards something, having a goal, is keeping me occupied. At the age of 32, time's getting, the window's closing, but a family is still in the picture. I would love to have a child, someone I could pass all this on to.
This box is from Afghanistan. It sent back with all my personal belongings, minus what was military issued after I was injured. It was anything that was not on my person when it happened. All the dirt and dust you see on it's still from Afghanistan. I personally have never opened it.
I was given a NAM with a V for Valor. It's one of my better accomplishments, but my best accomplishment that I've ever achieved in life is bringing home 12 men. I would go back just to be with them. If I died with those guys, I would die knowing that I did what I loved to do. I was good at what I did. And if I had to die doing it, then I died doing what I loved.
Oh my. They're filing in. Come here, Maggie. Can't wait to get my uniform. That's the one thing that I'm the most excited for, to get that uniform and finally be like, yeah, I did it.
Guess what? The party's not at your mom's house.
What's up? Hey, how you doing?
It's very scary to me. I'm glad that he's following his dreams and his passion and that he's going to do what he wants to do, and all I can do is pray that he is kept safe.
I feel like the military is a little bit vilified nowadays. I feel like they don't get as much love and support as they should. The people in the military aren't there. They're not like, yeah, let's go to war. They're there because they care about the country and they want to protect it. They're not there because they want to go kill people.
I'm just absolutely proud of him because, you know, it takes a man to make a choice, and he owned it through and through. He knew he wanted to do something where he was contributing back to society. That was his main priority, was that he was giving something back. And every challenge I put in front of him, every question I asked, he had an answer, and he stood his ground.
Good luck, Bradley!
These folks are not on the front pages anymore all the time, yet they continue to sacrifice. We continue to lose them. I would just encourage people to look within your own communities for your veterans. Show them that you care, show them that we appreciate, show them that you're going to be there for them if they need service, if they need help.
Thank a veteran. Find a veteran. They're everywhere. You're bound to find one somewhere.